Okay, good morning and welcome to Iyun, HaMishna. Today we'll be discussing Terumos, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Gimel. An interesting case over here. Ashofin Shetarmu Zech or Zech. Two partners, they own the whole vineyard, let's say, the whole vineyard, and they want to take off Truma Gedola, let's say. So we passing like the Chachamim. The Chachamim said that if they both took off Truma Zech or Zech, they didn't consult each other. One guy in the morning took off Truma, one guy in the night took off Truma, and they both thought the other one wasn't going to take off Truma. So the Chachamim say both of them are not valid. Only the one who took it off in the morning, he was the first one that did it. Right? Obviously, the second one only did it on the basis that the first one didn't do it. When he realizes that the first one did it, he obviously didn't want it to be true. Yossi is explaining, according to the Rabbi Tanura, he explains the sheet of the Rabbanan. It only applies in Terumos Rishon Kishir. If he gave the share of 1/50th, Chazal recommended the matana to the Kohen should be 1/50th, the Truma Gedolah 1/50th of your produce. So if he gives the share Ein Truma Sasheni Truma, then the second Truma by the second partner is invalid. If he gave less than 1/50th, so then the second one's valid and the first one's not valid. So I asked in the Mishnah Shir, I said we divided the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah into two parts. One is a mitzvah beinan l'makom. One is a mitzvah beinan l'chaver, dinim mamanis to your friend, to the Kohen, to give him his sustenance, his parnasa. So they recommend giving 1/5, and that's the ayin yafa. But beinan l'makom, the Gemara says, Shmuel says, chita achas poteres kol hakri, even if it's one out of a million, right? One stalk of wheat patters the entire kri from Trumas and Maisa. Truma Gedolah has no shear midah, so even the little kolshu, even one stalk of wheat patters the whole kri. So why does it matter whether he gave the matana? It should be half valid. In terms of the matana to the Kohen, you have to give him a new matana. But in terms of pattering the kri, it sounds from the Mishnah that it's not a truma at all. If he didn't give the shear, so his truma is not a truma at all, it doesn't even patter the kri. You have to do another afrasha for your kri. Why would that be? So I have to explain, investigate over here, what's the shutvim partners? What is the bias? How do we halachically view the ownership of partners, right? So you can say partners own, he owns 50% and he owns 50%, right? But which 50% does he own? Which 50% does he own? So there's one way of looking at it. The Ran and Darim on Daf Mem Hey on base, he talks about this. He discusses by Shutvim, the parak is called a Shutvim over there, whether there's a concept of Breira over here, meaning Shutvim each owns 50%. We don't know which 50% they own. So when one of the Shutvim uses or sells part of the produce, we can we can assume that what he sold belonged to him, because everything belongs suffix to both of them, 50%, 50%. So we can assume but that's only if you assume Breira. And Midoraisa, we paskin ain't Breira. You don't have Breira. So here we're talking about also Truma Doraisa. So be ain't Breira over here. So therefore, how could the first one, even if he gave Kashir, it wouldn't be valid, because Ein Breira, he's not giving what belongs to him, right? It doesn't necessarily belong to him. So, that's one way of saying it, because since we hold Ein Breira, we're talking about Truma D'Oraisa, so therefore, so that's a question. So even since we hold on Breira, so therefore, whether he gave Kashir or not Kashir, even if he gave Kashir, it shouldn't be valid. So you have to say over here that the way we look at Shvutzim partners is that, the way I described it in my Rosh Hashiva when I was like 21 years old, I described Shvutzim like this. He didn't like exactly what I said, but I think this is actually the truth. That Shvutzim really own all of it. Both of them own 100%, if that's possible. They both own 100%. Shvutzim own 100% of what they're taking. Now, if you go and try to take stuff from that's deducted from your calculation, but you have 100% bias over here. So therefore, when one shutav takes off, so you need the haskama, because both of them own 100%, right? If each own 50%, so then I have the right to take off from my 50%. If you assume, right? If you assume, even though it's assume Breira, but maybe you could assume that since they each own 50%, so he would have let him take off from his thing, and you can divide, and you can settle the matter afterwards. Even the Breira, when he didn't give it, but you can settle the matter afterwards if it's just dinei mominus. But if you assume they both own 100%, so therefore, I have no right to give to somebody else unless the person agrees with me. That's the nafkamina. If that's the person agrees with me. So we both own everything together. So therefore, I have to have. So therefore, the Umdin Das, we assume that the other partner only would want to take off Trumas and Maisos if you gave the Matana Yafa. You want part of the Matana of giving to the Kohen is you want to do Ayin Yafa. You want to give a nice Matana to the Kohen. Dini Mammon is Ben Adam L'Chavero. So therefore, if you don't give a proper Matana to the Kohen, so therefore, since you both own everything together, so therefore the other partner never agreed to that, and you have no rishus to give something over that the other person owns also. You can't be makla something that somebody else owns, right? If someone else owns a chair, I can't sell the chair to somebody else. It's his, right? If I'm going it with Xela, maybe I could, but if you're not going with Xela, you can't just sell something that doesn't belong to you. So the same thing over here, you can't give him a ton of something that doesn't belong to you, so therefore it's not even worth the pot or the creep, because it's ineffective, the transaction over here. And that would be the way of explaining Shutvim. We'll talk more about this in coming Masechtas.